Hi there and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. Last year Games Workshop did something incredible with the Cities of Sigmar. They created an inspiring and awesome range refresh of fantastic miniatures. And in this video I'll be taking you through how I painted the Marshal. The colours of course can easily be transferred across the range as well as other ranges of miniatures. Now many YouTubers have been very lucky to have showcased those models and getting them early from this awesome incredible range. But none have showcased the Warhammer Plus exclusive from last year, Marshal Ashford and Squire Udo. Now while there isn't much in terms of lore for these unique characters, these exclusives truly showcase the wonderful details of the range in a truly unique and characterful way. And painting them has made me extremely excited to see what else we'll get very soon, because the reveals for next year's Warhammer Plus miniatures will be revealed imminently. Now this tutorial will showcase how to easily match the box art using my preferred style of painting, the contrast painting method. And I'll take you through getting them battle ready to parade ready. And I'll be covering unseen colour schemes that others haven't done before to truly show the power of contrast paints. From grimy dirty black cloaks that traipse through the muddy battlefields to red tinted wooden weapons. The end result, I think you'll agree, will look incredible. Now it's time to get painting, so grab those brushes and let's get hobbying. Okay, so both my models have been primed in White Scar. I am going to showcase Squire Udo, but my main focus is going to be on Marshal Ashford. If there's any different colours that are really noticeable, I'll absolutely point it out on this one. But to begin with, let's start with all of our red cloth details. Nice and simple, painted with Baal Red. It has that real rich brightness on the box art. And this is the colour that we need to begin with. I'm going to shade it down in a minute, but Baal Red, take your time, try not to catch any of the details, but don't panic, we can always fix that with White Scar if needed. Once the Baal Red is fully dry, we're taking Blood Angels Red, and we're going to thin this down to 4 parts Lahmium Medium to 1 part Blood Angels Red, and just simply shade it all over. It will keep the richness of the Baal Red, but it will add to the recesses. Nice and simple, and it means our base colour for the red is done. Next up, we're focusing on the inside of the cloak, and I've taken Skeleton Horde here and mixed it with Lahmium Medium, creating a 1-to-1 ratio. And just to show on Squire Udo, I've done the same thing on the lower part of his outfit. Nice and simple, paint it all over. It's time to start planning our black details. I need an underlayer first. So when we look at the box art, that black has this dirty undertone colour, and we can achieve this through brown. So the colour I've used here is Wyldwood. Simply paint it straight on, it's not been thinned down. So things like the cloak, start from the top, move your way downwards, gravity will help it, rather than pulling heavily into the recesses. I've also used this colour to paint the wood of the tree, and it's going to remain in that colour. And for the cloak, I've applied a small amount on, washed the brush, and while the brush is still damp, I've feathered it outwards for that natural dirty layer. It's going to get tinted black. This is not the overall colour, but this is the first stage we need. And just to show Squire Udo, exactly the same. Painted the shoes, paint the gloves, all those black details painted in Wyldwood. Take your time, and we can move on to the next stage. With that Wyldwood in place, it's time to make that black colour for real. And the colour I'm using here is Black Templar. Nice and simply, just paint it straight over. As you can probably see, it's got this slightly grungy under effect of the Wyldwood, but it still registers as black. Just the same to showcase Squire Udo. The only part I haven't done is his boots. Next up, I'm focusing on all of the brown leather details. And if you followed any of my other guides, you'll know I've got a certain theme running here. It's going to end up being Cygor Brown, but we want that undertone first. And the colour that I like to use is Gore Grunta Fur. It's a very rich, very bright, very warm brown. Simply, not thin down, just paint it all over. And just to show off Squire Udo, he's got some similar brown leather. And to focus, there we go. Nice and simple, paint it straight on. Next up, we're shading those brown details further. And just like I mentioned, it's going to be Cygor Brown. mixed with Lahmium Medium. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part Cygor, 1 part Lahmium Medium. And there's no real method here, just paint it straight on. Except for the belts, and what you can do is be a little bit cheeky, because you've got that natural edge highlight already in place with the Gore Grunta Fur, and because of the recess that's naturally there, you could just paint it in and avoid the edges, but that's down to you. I've also applied it over the tree. It'll just slightly darken it further, add to the recesses, but the Lahmium Medium will really help prevent any chipping, especially with all those curved and sharp edges. I've also applied the mix onto his beard and facial hair. Nice and simple, matches the box art. And just to show Squire Udo what it looks like. There he is with his brown in place. Next up, I'm back to Gore Grunta Fur. Now, I could have applied this earlier, but I really want to showcase that it's separate details because I'm going to be shifting the colour. I didn't want to confuse them accidentally. This is going to be simply over all of the wooden casings of the weapons. Nice and simple, just paint it straight on, no need to thin it down. Now for Squire Udo, I've done exactly the same. However, that basket on the front of him, I've also painted it in that as well. I'm going to shift it to a slightly redwood tone in the next stage. The effect I'm going to aim for here is a red tinted wood. And the easiest way we can achieve this is by using Blood Angel's Red. And I thin this down ever so slightly in a 2-to-1 mix. So it's going to be 2 parts Blood Angel's Red and 1 part Lahmium Medium. And quite simply, we're just painting it straight over the Gore Grunta Fur that we've just done. It'll be nice and subtle, but it'll leave that red tint, but that warm brown Gore Grunta Fur as the underlayer will still show through. Just to show Squire Udo, nice and simply. Granted, it looks a bit redder on here to begin with, but that's more because I've caught the areas of metal. Next up, we're focusing on Squire Udo, and we're starting with the bottles. So simple colour, the one that he's holding in his hand, painted with Briar Queen Chill. Keep a nice even layer, just don't let it pull right at the bottom. For the bottles in the basket, as well as the little thing on his back, I've painted with Gryph Charger Grey. For the little bit that's right in the centre, on the top of his basket, I've painted in Militarum Green. Now I need to let them all dry, and once they are, I've just given a very thin, even layer shade of Nuln Oil. Nice and simple, we can move on to the next part of Squire Udo. Next up, we're taking Basilicanum Grey, and I've thinned this down ever so slightly, almost to a 1-to-1 ratio with Lahmium Medium. I've applied this in a few select areas. So for Squire Udo, it's his facial hair, as well as the necklace, but then for both characters, it's the rocks that they're standing on the base. As you can see, I've got the stern and mud already applied, and I've applied it over that too to darken it down. Nice and simple. Continuing with the base, and this is Squire Udo only, we've got a couple of extra details. The skull on the base, pure skeleton horde. And for the little glass bottles, there's 3 of them in total. They're a green colour, and I find Warp Lightning to be the best green to match the box art. Time to finish off some remaining details on Squire Udo, and to begin with, let's focus on the trim that goes round his outfit. Nice simple colour of Flesh Terror's Red. Just be very careful, take your time, we don't want to catch the skeleton horde that we've previously applied. Once that is dry though, I want to shade it just a little bit further, make it a bit grungy. I've taken Agrax Earth Shade. And quite simply, I've done this in 2 different ways. Apply it straight over, but I've also applied it onto the bottom of his outfit. I want to dirty it up. Now on Marshall Ashford, I did it with the Wyldwood. This time I've just done it with Agrax Earth Shade, and just simply feathering it out, giving it this stained grungy look. Now I've also applied the Agrax Earth Shade on Marshall Ashford. Just simply where his belt is around his waist, he's got this little bit of rope holding in 2 hammers. So it's just to signify he's got a rope there. Next up, for the flesh, I've taken Reikland Flesh Shade. Nice and simply, paint a coat on, let it dry, make sure it's not pooling excessively in any place, and then paint a second layer on. You get a really nice finish. And finally, on the wood on his backpack, simple base coat of black Templar. Nice and easy. And just to show Marshal Ashford, I've done the same with the Reichland flesh shade. 2 coats over his face. And the only difference for him, he does have bare and exposed elbows. Exactly the same principle, 2 coats of Reichland flesh shade. We're on to the final colours for base coating, and I'd really recommend following the box art for guidance here, because they're mostly going to be our metallic details. So let's start with the silvers, and they're quite bright and silver when they're showcased. So the colour I've chosen here is Lead Belcher. Nice and simple, but it's going to take the longest, because there's a lot on there, especially for Squire Udo. Once the silvers are applied, you need to do the golds, and Retributor armour is the perfect colour here. And there's one additional metallic detail. Now, on the front of him, he's got these hammers. On Squire Udo, he has got these little chains that just hold this point here. And the colour I've used here is Screaming Bell. Nice and simple. It's a tiny little detail, but it's just a slightly different colour. And lastly, if you're into freehanding, again, using the box art as reference material, I've done the S for Sigmar, and the colour I've used here is Carrick Stone. The easiest way to apply this, start on the top left, do a dot on the other right hand side, draw a line, and then keep doing those dots and then fill in the centre. Easiest and quickest way. So that's the base colours for all the metallics done. I'll just show Squire Udo again. And now we need to shade them. It's time to shade our metallic details. To begin with, nice and simple, we'll start with the gold, we'll start with the Screaming Bell. And the colour I've used here is Reichland Flesh Shade, that classic one that goes with them. Next up, we're focusing on the silver details, but the best way to imagine this is to split them into 2 parts. We've got the silver of the armour, and then all the other silver bits. And we're going to keep those 2 separate. So for everything that is not the armour plating, I've shaded them in Nuln Oil. It's very hard to see on this model, because obviously he's got a great big armour plate. And the reason why we're keeping that one different is because when you look at the box art, it's got a very green tint to it. The colour I've used here is Aphonian Camoshade. So like I mentioned, Nuln Oil on all the details except all of the chest armour and the shoulder pads. And in that one we've done Aphonian Camoshade. Just to show Squire Udo. Exactly the same way. There they are together. Now they look absolutely incredible, and they are what I would call my version of battle ready. But we're not going to leave it there. We're going to make these models look even better. I'm just going to add a few cheeky highlights just to finish them off. Okay, next up we're going to showcase all the highlights that I've used. Unfortunately I've had to do them all in one go, but it doesn't matter, we can still talk about what I've done. So for all of the black details, as you can see, nice and grungy and dirty grey, Storm Vermin Fur is the perfect colour here. For all of our brown leather details, I've used Deathclaw Brown, but I've also used this on the wood. So this is the wood of the weapons. So if you see the barrel stocks, that's where I've used it too. For the cloak, there's not many highlights to do here, but the colour I've used is Pallid Witch Flesh. I've taken the opportunity, as it's a very bright colour, to highlight the skulls in this too. Nice and simple. Next up, and we're not painting this on, you're going to use a dry brush instead. I've dry brushed the base with Carrick Stone. I've done this over the tree as well, as it's a perfect matching highlight. For the skin, there's not much to do, there isn't much of it, especially on Squire Udo, but small dots and small edge highlights of Flayed One Flesh really picks out the details here. And sticking with the face, I have done the eyes. I've gone down the classic route of White Scar as a dot, and an even smaller dot of Abaddon Black. But I've used the Abaddon Black too on Marshal Ashford. On that S for Sigmar sign, I want to show it's aged a bit. I've scratched the surface. Just ever so slightly, small scratches that shows it's aged and worn. For all of our red details, a simple highlight of Wild Rider Red. And that just leaves our metallic details left. Nice and simple. All the gold details as well as the brass ones, I've done highlights of Liberator Gold. Now our silver is very bright to begin with because of the lead belcher paint. And I really wanted to push those highlights to an extreme, so I've gone super bright with Stormhost Silver. I'm just going to show Squire Udo off just to show what he looks like. We can move on to the next stage. Now when we look at the box art, we can see that the Heavy Metal team have indeed done freehanding for the designs on the characters. Now we can be a bit cheeky and a bit lazy here because we've got the Cities of Sigmar transfer sheet, and if you have one to hand, these are transfers I'm going to use. So for Marshal Ashford, I'm going to go to the Hamhall Action range. I'm going to take this small one here to apply on the front red of his cloth. And then for the insides of his cape, he's got the classic sign. I'm going to use these two medium-sized black ones. I'm going to stick them in each corner. And for Squire Udo, it's a bit hard to see in this light, but there is a S for Sigmar just here under the Hammerhall Action range. He doesn't have it on the front of his tunic, but I'm going to put it in there just to make him stand out a bit more. And just to show, here's the transfers in place. Bit hard to see because they are small, though you can see the one on the front of his cloth. The way I apply it, to begin with, prep the area first with a thin layer of hard coat, let it dry. What it's going to do is smooth down the surface, apply a transfer like you normally would with water, move it into place. Once the area is dry, just go over it with Storm Shield. This will just seal the transfer on permanently. Nice and simple. It's the classic old method that you can also see on the Citadel tutorials on Warhammer Official. But also, while we're here, just one final thing with Udo. I've also used the hard coat over the bottles. It's hard to see in this video, it just gives them that natural shine, and that gloss will just help create that illusion that it's actually glass rather than just plastic. What I need to do now is paint the rim and the bases, which I'm going to do in Abaddon Black. I'm going to add some grass, which you can get anywhere, and just a couple of tufts, and then they're done. And there we have it. Marshal Ashford and Squire Udo are complete. And I'm sure you'll join me in acknowledging that the new Cities of Sigmar range is absolutely phenomenal. They really have pulled it out the bag with this range. And this additional Warhammer Plus set is just really awesome. And when they revealed it last year, I was sold instantly without a doubt. This was my free choice. And I've really enjoyed painting these up and showcasing it for the awesome Warhammer community. And now, we're scarily at that time of year again. The next two exclusive Warhammer Plus minis should be revealed very soon, and I'm excited to see what they bring us. My gut for AOS says something Skaven, but we'll just have to wait and see. But rest assured, I'll be getting them both and showcasing them when I've got them. Now this guy could be mixed and matched with so many models from the Cities of Sigmar range and beyond. And if the video has helped and inspired, then please give it that thumbs up and like it. Leave a comment or get in touch on Instagram with what you'd like to see, and please consider subscribing. It's support that helps the channel grow, and the more it grows, the more I can put out there to teach and inspire. At the end of the day, that's what this channel is all about. But until the next time, look after yourselves, and most importantly, happy hobbying.